Let me tell you something that might hurt a little, but it will free you if you let it sink in. No one is coming to save you. There is no perfect moment on the calendar, no magical phone call, no person riding in at the last second to change your life. And the longer you wait for that moment or that person, the more time you give away, time you will never get back. At some point, you have to stop looking around and realize that the help you've been praying for is already inside you. See, most people don't fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because they keep waiting, waiting for motivation, waiting for confidence, waiting for the right conditions, waiting for someone to believe in them first. But success doesn't respond to waiting. It responds to action. Life doesn't reward intentions. It rewards execution. And the moment you understand that nobody owes you anything, that's the moment you stop living like a victim and start living like a contender. You've been through some things, I know that. You've been hurt, disappointed, overlooked, and maybe even counted out. And yes, some of that wasn't fair, but listen closely. Fairness is not a requirement for greatness. Responsibility is. If you keep handing the steering wheel of your life to your past, to your pain, to other people's opinions, you will never arrive where you're supposed to go. At some point, you have to say, it stops with me. No more excuses. No more blaming the system, the economy, your background, or your circumstances. You may not be responsible for what happened to you, but you are responsible for what happens next. This is where it gets real. Taking ownership is uncomfortable because it removes every excuse you've been hiding behind. When you accept that no one is coming to save you, you also accept that your success, or your failure, is in your hands. That's scary, but it's also powerful, because if nobody else controls your future, that means you do. And once you stop waiting for permission, you start moving with urgency. You stop negotiating with your weaknesses. You stop lying to yourself about tomorrow. You stop saying one day and start saying day one. Understand this, rescue thinking keeps people stuck. It sounds like hope, but it's actually procrastination dressed up in optimism. You don't need saving. You need discipline. You don't need a miracle. You need consistency. You don't need someone to push you. You need to decide that quitting is no longer an option. When you wake up every day expecting someone else to change your life, you give away your power. But when you wake up knowing it's on you, everything shifts. And here's the truth most people avoid. Nobody cares about your dream as much as you do. They have their own battles, their own fears, their own responsibilities. That doesn't make them evil, it makes them human. So stop waiting for applause before you perform. Stop waiting for validation before you commit. Work in silence, grind when nobody's watching, build when nobody believes. Because the real transformation doesn't happen when the world cheers for you. It happens when you show up for yourself day after day, even when it's hard. You owe it to yourself to rise. You owe it to yourself to stop waiting and start becoming. No one is coming to save you, and that's exactly why you must save yourself, starting now. Let me be honest with you. Your feelings don't care about your future. They don't care about your goals, your potential, or the promises you made to yourself late at night when you were tired of being tired. Feelings are unpredictable. One day they're high, the next day they're gone. And if you build your life around how you feel, you'll spend most of your time stuck, starting over, or quitting right before the breakthrough. That's why, if you want to succeed, you have to learn how to outwork your feelings. See, most people only show up when they feel motivated, when they feel confident, when they feel inspired. But success doesn't live there. Success lives in the days you don't feel like it. The days you wake up tired, discouraged, doubting yourself, questioning whether it's even worth it. Those are the days that separate the average from the exceptional. Anybody can work when it's easy. Anybody can grind when the energy is high. But winners move even when their emotions are telling them to slow down. Your feelings will lie to you. They'll tell you you're not ready. They'll tell you it's too late. They'll tell you someone else has it easier, that you're behind, that today doesn't matter. And if you listen to those feelings long enough, they'll talk you right out of your destiny. That's why discipline has to be stronger than emotion. Discipline says, I'm showing up whether I feel like it or not. Discipline says, I made a commitment and I'm going to honor it. Discipline doesn't wait for the mood, it creates the momentum. Let me tell you something important. You don't need to feel good to do good work. You don't need confidence to take action. Confidence is built asterisk after asterisk you move, not before. Progress creates belief, not the other way around. Every time you do what you said you would do, especially when you don't feel like it, you train your mind to trust you, and that trust becomes power. That's how habits are formed. That's how character is built. That's how ordinary people produce extraordinary results. Life is not going to slow down because you're tired. The clock doesn't pause because you're discouraged. Your bills don't wait. Your dreams don't wait. Opportunity doesn't wait. So you can either let your feelings control your schedule, or you can decide that your goals matter more than your comfort. Outworking your feelings doesn't mean ignoring them. It means not letting them drive. You acknowledge how you feel, but you move anyway. You say, I hear you, but I've got work to do. And here's the hard truth. The version of you that depends on motivation will always be inconsistent. But the version of you that depends on discipline will always be dangerous. That's the version that shows up early, stays late, and does the work nobody wants to do. That's the version that keeps going when progress is slow and results are invisible. That's the version that wins, not because it feels better, but because it refuses to quit. You owe it to yourself to stop negotiating with your emotions and start executing on your commitments. Feelings come and go, but discipline stays. And when discipline becomes your lifestyle, success has no choice but to follow. So work on the days you feel strong, and work even harder on the days you feel weak. Because the moment you outwork your feelings is the moment you step into your power. Let me remind you of something that can change the way you see yourself if you really let it land. Your past does not get a vote in your future. It may have shaped you, it may have tested you, it may have scarred you, but it does not get to decide where you're going next. Too many people wake up every day carrying yesterday like a life sentence, replaying old mistakes, old failures, old labels, as if history has the final say. It doesn't. The past can inform you, but it cannot control you unless you give it permission. Some of you have been through things you didn't deserve. You grew up in environments that didn't nurture you. You made choices when you were younger that you wish you could take back. You trusted people who let you down. And somewhere along the way, you started believing that what happened to you is who you are. But listen closely. Your worst moment is not your identity. Your lowest season is not your destiny. Growth begins the moment you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what am I going to do about it now? The problem isn't that the past happened. The problem is that many people keep inviting it into the present. They use it as an excuse to play small, to stay safe, to avoid risk. They say, this is just how I am, or I've always been like this, or people like me don't win. And every time you repeat those words, you cast a vote against yourself. You reinforce a story that keeps you trapped. But the truth is, you get to rewrite the narrative. You get to decide who you are becoming starting today. You don't owe your past loyalty. You don't owe your mistakes your future. You don't owe your pain a permanent place in your life. What you owe is progress, and progress requires courage. The courage to forgive yourself, the courage to let go, the courage to move forward even when you're afraid of repeating old patterns. Healing doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It means refusing to let what happened define what's possible. Here's something powerful. Every day you wake up, you get a fresh vote, not your parents, not your teachers, not the people who doubted you, not the version of you that failed before. You do, and that vote is cast in your actions. It's cast in whether you show up or shrink back. It's cast in whether you try again or quit quietly. It's cast in whether you let fear speak louder than faith. Understand this. Your future requires a different level of you than your past ever did. That's why you can't carry old mindsets into new seasons. The habits that kept you surviving may not be the habits that help you succeed. At some point, you have to stop identifying with who you were when you were just trying to make it through, and start becoming who you need to be to win. That transition is uncomfortable, but it's necessary. You are not disqualified because you failed. You are not behind because you started late. You are not broken because you struggled. You are still in the game as long as you're willing to grow. The past can whisper, but it doesn't get to lead. You decide the direction now. So let today be the day you take your power back. Let today be the day you stop letting yesterday vote on your tomorrow. You are not who you were. You are who you choose to become, and that choice starts right now. Let me tell you the truth most people don't want to hear. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. Comfort feels good, but it costs you everything. The moment you get too comfortable is the moment you stop growing. And the scary part is, comfort doesn't announce itself as danger. It disguises itself as peace, as balance, as I'll do it tomorrow. But while you're getting comfortable, your potential is getting restless, because deep down you know you were built for more. See, greatness demands pressure. It demands stretch. It demands moments where you're unsure, uncomfortable, even afraid. But most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid those moments. They avoid the early mornings, they avoid the hard conversations, they avoid the risk of failure. They avoid the discipline it takes to change, and then they wonder why their life looks the same year after year. Comfort will keep you safe, but it will never make you strong. Nothing extraordinary is born in ease. Muscles don't grow without resistance. Skills don't sharpen without repetition. Confidence doesn't appear without challenge. Every level you want in life requires you to leave the level you're comfortable with, but instead of leaning into the discomfort, people negotiate with it. They say, I've done enough. They say, I deserve a break. They say, this is good enough. And good enough becomes the ceiling that keeps them from ever seeing what they're truly capable of. Let's be real. Comfort feels like control. It feels predictable. It feels familiar, but familiar doesn't mean fulfilling. Just because you know how to survive where you are doesn't mean you're meant to stay there. Growth requires you to walk into spaces where you don't have all the answers, where you might fail, where you might look foolish. But that's the price of progress. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not evolving. And here's the danger. Comfort slowly kills urgency. You stop pushing. You stop demanding more from yourself. You start settling for average results with above average excuses. You convince yourself that time is on your side, that you can always start later. But later is a lie. Later steals years. Later robs dreams. Later turns potential into regret. The people who win understand that now is uncomfortable, but now is necessary. Greatness doesn't ask if you're ready. It asks if you're willing to wake up early when your bed is warm, willing to stay disciplined when distractions are loud, willing to choose growth over ease, purpose over pleasure. That willingness is what separates those who dream from those who do. Because the truth is, everybody wants the results, but very few want the process. Everybody wants the reward, but not everybody wants the grind. If you're feeling stretched right now, that's not a sign to stop. That's a sign you're in the right place. If you're feeling challenged, pressured, pushed beyond what's familiar, that's not punishment. That's preparation. Comfort never prepared anyone for greatness. Discomfort does. And the more you learn to live in that space, the more dangerous you become, not to others, but to your old limits. So stop asking for it to be easy. Stop praying for it to be comfortable. Ask for the strength to endure the pressure, the discipline to stay consistent, and the courage to keep going when everything in you wants to quit. Because the life you want is on the other side of the comfort you're clinging to. And the moment you let go is the moment greatness finally has room to rise. Let me clear something up right now. Talent is overrated. Don't get me wrong, talent is nice, but talent alone won't carry you where consistency can. Talent might open the door, but consistency is what keeps you in the room. Every day, people with less skill, less intelligence, and fewer advantages pass up the talented ones simply because they show up when others don't. And the hard truth is this: talent fades when pressure shows up, but consistency thrives under it. Most people love the idea of being gifted. They love being praised for potential. They love hearing, "You're naturally good at this." But potential without discipline is wasted energy. Potential without consistency is frustration. You don't get paid for what you can do. You get paid for what you do over and over again. And life doesn't reward intensity once in a while. It rewards commitment every single day. Here's where people mess up. They wait to feel inspired before they act. They go hard for a week, maybe two, and then disappear when it gets boring, repetitive, or slow. But consistency is not exciting. It's not glamorous. It's showing up when no one is clapping. It's doing the same small things when the results aren't obvious yet, and that's why most people avoid it, because consistency requires patience, humility, and self-control. But understand this: greatness is built quietly. It's built in early mornings and late nights. It's built in routines nobody sees. It's built in the discipline to keep going when progress feels invisible. You don't suddenly wake up successful. You wake up after thousands of ordinary days done the right way. Every rep matters, every effort counts, every day you stay consistent, you're depositing into a future you haven't seen yet. Talent likes shortcuts, consistency respects the process. Talent wants recognition now. Consistency is willing to wait, and when life gets hard, and it will, it's not talent that saves you, it's habit. When motivation runs out, habits take over. When emotions get shaky, routines hold you steady. That's why consistency beats talent every single time. Because consistency doesn't depend on how you feel. It depends on who you've trained yourself to be. Let me say this clearly: you don't have to be the best. You just have to be the most committed. You don't need to win every day. You just need to refuse to quit. Some days you'll be strong. Some days you'll barely make it. But consistency doesn't demand perfection. It demands persistence. It asks you to come back again and again, even after failure, even after setbacks, even after doubt. And over time, something powerful happens. The person who was once not that talented becomes unstoppable. The gap closes, the confidence grows, the results compound. While others keep starting over, you keep building. While others rely on bursts of motivation, you rely on systems. And eventually, the consistency everyone ignored becomes the advantage nobody can compete with. So stop comparing yourself to gifted people who don't show up. Stop wishing for more talent and start demanding more discipline. Show up on the good days, show up on the bad days, show up when it's boring, slow, and uncomfortable. Because talent may impress for a moment, but consistency builds a legacy. And if you stay consistent long enough, there won't be a single doubt left about why you won. Let me talk to you about something that separates those who dream from those who leave a mark. You owe it to yourself to finish strong. Not start strong, not talk strong, finish strong, because life is full of people who began with energy and ended with excuses. They had passion in the beginning, fire in the early days, promises on day one. But somewhere along the way, they slowed down, got distracted, got tired, and quietly quit on themselves. And the truth is, starting is easy. Anybody can start. Finishing is what requires character. You didn't come this far just to come this far. Think about the nights you cried, the sacrifices you made, the moments you wanted to give up but didn't. Every step you've taken, every obstacle you survived was building you for this moment. So don't dishonor your journey by stopping short. Quitting doesn't erase the pain. It just gives it permission to repeat. Finishing, on the other hand, turns pain into purpose and struggle into strength. At some point, you have to decide that how you end matters more than how you feel right now. Fatigue will try to convince you that you've done enough. Fear will whisper that it's safer to stop. Doubt will tell you you're not built for the final stretch, but those voices show up when you're close. Close to growth, close to breakthrough, close to becoming someone you've never been before. The hardest part of the journey is usually the last part, because that's where the transformation is finalized. Finishing strong means you keep your standards high even when your energy is low. It means you don't let temporary discomfort steal permanent progress. It means you show up with intention when it would be easier to coast. A strong finish isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about saying, I may be tired, but I'm not done. And every time you push through when quitting feels justified, you reinforce a powerful identity. Someone who can be trusted to follow through. Here's what people don't tell you. How you finish becomes how you see yourself. When you walk away halfway, you train your mind to believe that quitting is an option. But when you finish, especially when it's hard, you build self-respect. You prove to yourself that you are capable of more than your emotions, more than your circumstances, more than your past. And that confidence carries into everything else you touch. You owe it to the version of you who started with hope in their heart. You owe it to the version of you who kept going when nobody noticed. You owe it to the version of you who believed there was more waiting on the other side of the struggle. Don't let that version down. Don't let fatigue write the final chapter of your story. You've already survived too much to stop now. The world doesn't remember who almost made it. It remembers who stayed committed when it would have been easier to quit. So dig deep, lock in, give the last stretch everything you've got. Finish with discipline. Finish with pride. Finish with no regrets. Because when you finish strong, you don't just reach the end, you become the kind of person who never backs down from the finish line again. Let me bring this all together, because this is where it stops being a speech and starts being a decision. At the end of the day, success is not about luck, talent, or timing. It's about ownership. No one is coming to save you. That truth isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up. Because the moment you stop waiting on the world, you start becoming dangerous to your own limits. When you accept responsibility for your life, you take your power back. You learned that your feelings can't be in charge. They change too often, they lie too convincingly, and they disappear when you need them most. Discipline has to lead, work has to come first. Progress doesn't wait for motivation. It responds to commitment. When you outwork your feelings, you prove that your goals matter more than your comfort. You also learned that your past does not get a vote. It can explain you, but it cannot define you. What happened yesterday does not get to decide what happens next. Every day you wake up, you get a fresh opportunity to choose differently, move differently, and become stronger than the version of you that struggled before. And if you want greatness, comfort has to go. Growth and comfort do not live in the same house. Pressure, resistance, and challenge are not signs that something is wrong. They're signs that something is working. Everything you want is on the other side of what you've been avoiding. You don't need to be the most talented person in the room. You just need to be the most consistent. Show up, stay disciplined, do the work when it's boring, when it's slow, when nobody is watching. Consistency compounds. Over time, it turns effort into excellence and discipline into dominance. And finally, remember this. You owe it to yourself to finish strong, not for applause, not for validation, but for self-respect. For the version of you who started this journey with hope, for the sacrifices you already made, for the life you know you're capable of living. So don't quit, don't slow down now, don't settle, lock in. Stay committed, execute daily, and when it's over, let it be said that you didn't just dream, you did the work, because you don't owe the world an explanation, but you owe yourself success.